Hi there, yeah, great and glorious NickDutch here yet again. And I'm at a bit of a disadvantage, I suppose, because I'm thinking very much about my ideas, where I'm coming from, where I got my ideas from, and essentially where I'm going to try and take them next. And again, as usual, this is a form of communication. You're there, you can communicate with me, leave comments. I tend to read most of, if not all of the comments which are left to me. Send me mails if you must, but on the other hand, don't swamp me, don't spam me, man, you know what I mean? I am aware, for instance, that anyone with enough practice can create a experience of the invocation of an archangel, and under some strange circumstances one can have an experience which is so real, one can have communication with them that's so real that one might as well say that they exist. However, you have no proof that they exist, therefore you can't actually believe in them. Even Aleister Crowley, who in some of his writings went into great detail as to various things that he's done in ritual when dealing with various spiritual forces, still called the supernatural beings imaginary beings. And there's a very good reason for that, because you don't want to drive yourself mad through worrying that anything that you do will be either approved of or disproved of by some kind of supernatural being. There's no point in being like that or thinking like that. So yeah, I can say that my ideas are, and the way I'm expressing myself is an extension of the views of Aleister Crowley. Also, I could say that my perspective, my point of view, is very much an extension of the views of Alphonse Louis Constance, who essentially believed in reason being, or supreme reason, whatever the hell that is essentially what he regarded as being divine. And I would say that reason and reasoning is important, but on the other hand, Alphonse Louis Constance, Eliphas Levi, also went against that when he confesses to, I think it was towards the end of Transcendental Magic, that he believes in the creation, he believes in God, because there's so much perfection in nature. Which, I don't think that's an argument myself. I don't think that one can say that one can prove that God exists. One can still carry on doing religious exercises, but also Alphonse Louis Constant, Eliphas Levi in Transcendental Magic, said that a purpose of doing magic rituals is to explore and or test theological truths, religious truths. And I don't think you can do that either. Because yes, you can get experiences, you can do mediumship and you can channel this, that and the other, you can do enough meditation and prayer so that you have contact with angels, with spirits, with spiritual energy and all the rest of it, but you can't say that they exist. I mean, if I extrapolate far enough, I can't even say that this little camera that I'm talking to at the moment actually exists. It's merely a sensory experience. But just because I can experience this camera and I can experience an archangel does not mean to say that the archangel exists, nor does it say that this camera exists, and it certainly doesn't mean to say that God exists. But belief in God is a useful thing. A lot of humans, not all humans, but a lot of humans seem to find belief in God somehow helpful. So theism has its benefits, but in my case, if I'm doing theological stuff, then I'm a totally devout person who believes in God and I'm working with God and the rest of it. But when I'm going about my day-to-day tasks, like yesterday when I went down the bank and paid stuff in and moved stuff about and paid some bills and I didn't give a shit. I really did not give a shit for anything religious or spiritual at all. I was just doing what I had to do, because that's the way you got to think if you're going to keep your marbles. But the reason that I feel I'm at a disadvantage is, unlike the spiritual movement, the spiritualist movement, unlike I think it was the Golden Dawn movement and some similar movements, I can't say that the purpose of all this stuff is to become a much more efficient human being, because human efficacy was always promoted as being a reason to become a more perfect being as a result of doing magical things or religious things or yoga things. But I don't quite see the connection there. Because just as one can go through leaps of faith where one believes in something which is essentially imaginary, one can also extrapolate too far and think, well, you know, I saw something in my vision, therefore I mustn't cross the road for a week, or something, you know, I mustn't do something which is basically very normal and ordinary, which everybody else does and basically needs to do for their survival. So we've got to find, you know, some kind of middle ground. Is there any real point in becoming an occultist? Well, basically, if all you want to get from your life is everything you've already got in your life, and you've never touched anything New Age or occult or supernatural before, then basically, no, there isn't. There isn't any single point for you whatsoever. So why am I doing it? Well, I'm curious, I'm interested, I've had certain experiences which suggest that there could be implications for human health, there could be implications for communication over a distance, and perception over a distance. And I think that is interesting, possibly useful, but only to a certain degree. For instance, if I was to do a remote viewing tonight to actually project to someone who I know I'm going to see over the next couple of days and try and engage in communication in a dream or in a telepathy type experience, sure, I can make notes afterwards, take a pen and paper and make notes afterwards as to what's transpired, but to leap to any conclusions as a direct result of that could severely mess up my chance of good conversations or a good friendship connection with this one particular person if I extrapolate too far from the evidence which I have received. So I'm actually stating that it's actually worthwhile to be skeptical of the things that you experience yourself. So this is why I'm at a disadvantage. And also, where am I going to take... If someone's interested in the supernatural, they're normally interested in results, I reckon. They're not necessarily interested in religion. Some people might go into religion by way of thinking that if we go into religion, then maybe we can have much more in the way of occult abilities. But I think that's not necessarily a good way of doing things, because then you end up becoming religious and you lose your connectivity to a lot of the occult stuff you were trying to do in the first place. And on top of that, becoming religious can actually create those leaps of belief and take away some aspects of your reasoning ability. So I'm kind of like treading a very peculiar path here. Any of your feedback and comments would of course be most welcome. Bye for now.